There he is. What's going on, Danny?
Yeah. How's it going?
Good, and yourself?
I'm good.
Excited to talk to you about the new record and get into the tour and want to do all that. And let's start with the album, man, because this was a little bit of a journey for you guys, writing a bunch of songs and saying, nah, they weren't good enough. But let's go back in time. Last time I got to talk to you and Matt was at the Vans Warp Tour in Long Beach.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah.
That day. I had a big old burnt nose that day and everything. But I'm kind of curious. Take me back to that day and whereabouts were you with the record at that point? Had you already scrapped all the old songs? Take me back to then.
Long Beach Warp Tour. That was in the
July, July of 25.
July. Yeah, yeah. We were done. Everything was done being recorded. Um I don't think we had shot our first music video yet, but everything was done. So it was absolutely a journey, and throwing out basically a whole batch of songs and being like, no, we've got to be better than that. We've got to make something, next level. It is a record that is really, what it is about is obviously like reflecting on your own life and the trials and tribulations of the ups and downs of life, and the process of making it was just like that. There was a lot of stress and frustration and arguing, and then finding, some a solution, and then rising up and then being like, we got this, and then crashing and burning and then finding another side. It was a lot. It was wild. We tore our own and each other's hair out making this record. So it was crazy.
You know what I love about it too is it might simultaneously be the heaviest from Ashes to New record and simultaneously the most danciest or electronic forward record at the same time. I mean, you guys really expanded on both boundaries musically.
Yeah, it's kind of like like a video game where you have a character and you're like designing what their strengths are, and you got to like pull the thing in like the different directions. I feel like we stretched it all the way out in every direction that we could. We are like, all right, as cinematic as we can possibly make it with like, all these sound effects, and as synth heavy as we can make it with some synth layers, and Lance is big into like K-pop, so like making it, a little bit dancey in certain spots, making it super heavy, making it super catchy. Like we're just trying to go the distance in every direction that we can go in.
I love it, man. It makes for a roller coaster ride. And I was kind of wondering too, when I talked to you at the Warp Tour, that was the first time I had seen Jimmy Bennett play with you guys on stage as a five piece and saw you guys on the headline tour as well. But did Jimmy uh, contribute to the album in the studio? Was he writing riffs and
I honestly think it was his fault that it was so hard. I'm gonna just
ah?
blame. I'm just gonna blame him. It's all his fault. He came in, he just messed everything up.
I was wondering. I was like,
Yeah.
the two guitars making everything so heavy this time around. Is that what it is?
No, he's been great, and he definitely brought some to the table, and it was kind of towards the last half of it that we brought him in to kind of just like test the waters. We had already kind of decided like, okay, we're gonna officially add you to the band, and like, but let's take it in steps, so that way it's not just like a magical switches flipped. So we brought him in towards the end once we had kind of figured out that that was the route we were going, and yeah, he definitely helped. It was always good to have somebody fresh in there to like bounce ideas off and be like, well, he's like, I really like that, but what about this? And it was good to just have a different head in the room to kind of play off of certain ideas. And he's got a good voice. He can write melodies and guitar and drums and all that stuff. So he's been a great addition. He's been awesome. So
I'm curious, man, who tackled bass on the album then? Was it Jimmy or was it Lance?
Lance handled all the tracking. So Jimmy was because his role is relatively new. He was there for kind of like the emotional support of the record, as well as helping with some parts, writing a few things here and there. So like Lance still recorded most of the guitar, and I think he recorded all the bass too. But all of that happened in a separate room while I was still like tracking vocals and doing all that stuff. So I actually didn't even get to see any of the guitar work on the record, which kind of bums me out. But when you're on deadlines and you've already done double the studio time that you were supposed to do, it's
Right.
just how it's got to be. So I didn't get to witness too much of it, which makes me sad. But I'm pretty sure Lance did the majority of the actual tracking.
Dude, speaking of your vocals for a few, man, do you ever think about like 5, 10, 15 years from now trying to sing this stuff? Because what you're singing is up there in the stratosphere.
Yeah, I have to say I've been blessed with really great influences and stumbling on the right things, and I feel like I could sing this stuff for 30, 40 plus years,
Wow.
barring any sort of insane accident or
Sure.
tragic injury or something like that. Um, I was very heavily influenced by M Shadows from Avenged Sevenfold, and I could tell that he just had a crazy work ethic by the way he sounded live and how good he was. So like that just kind of set me off down a path of like I want to be as good or better live than I am on the record. So, I was worked on my voice, worked on my voice, worked on my voice, and found a a program by a guy named Brett Manning, and it's called Singing Success. Great program, teaches you how to tap into and really have a good control over all five registers of the voice. And then Jamie Vendera was a great help too with the touring side of things and keeping my voice healthy. And so, with all of those things kind of put together, like, as long as I don't have some sort of sickness that just takes away my voice, I
Sure.
can get through anything on tour. And um, the voice I know is a surprisingly a very resilient thing. And I think it'll last me decades to come. So,
Yeah, it's more just about you really hitting some high notes on this record. And the other thing that I really liked too was kind of you've always sung and screamed, but now it felt like a little bit of unraveling on certain songs where you would maybe start with the sing and then go into a
yeah,
scream or vice versa, you know?
yeah. Yeah, you're 100% right. And there was some unlearning I had to do of certain techniques because sometimes when you're in the studio, you have to throw technique out the window and go, okay, this is a part that is supposed to be emotional. So screw the safety and the techniques and like push through the singing into a scream, even though it isn't like the correct way to do it.
Right.
It sounds good, and that's what matters. Figure out a different way to do it live. You know what I mean? So, um, there was definitely a good bit of that, and the songs, yes, we tried doing songs like lower, and it was like, well, maybe you don't have to be screaming your brains out on every single song. I'm like, let's try the song down here. And so we track it, and they were like, all right, let's pitch the song up and try it there, and be like, yeah, it just sounds better when you're just screaming your brains out. Like, all right.
I was gonna say Matt sounds like his voice is a little bit different on this record too. I don't know if it's higher, but he certainly has that deep bassy voice that he has. But there's a couple other songs where I feel like he's more in a mid range kind of.
Yeah, he's been intentionally adjusting, I think, his approach over the last few years. Um, because in the early days he was very much so just like kind of like a rapping yell guy, and he was like, I want to have a little more like smoothness and a little more nuance to it. So he's kind of been adjusting his tone over the years. And and there's also we get to hear him sing or kind of like do like a rap sing in a couple
Yeah.
spots too. So that's been really cool to hear.
Yeah, I was like listening to the record and I'm like, wait, is that is that Matt? That's not Danny. Like I could tell like it was a completely different style
Yeah.
and a great growth for him. And the other thing too I love about this album, and you guys always do it, but songs like Die for You. I love the cleverness and kind of you normally it's I would die for you, I'd do anything for you, baby. And
Yeah.
it's like I won't die for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a song that Lance brought to the table. It had a totally different structure. And I remember we had like a quick break from the studio. So I drove home, and on my way home, I felt like I had an epiphany. I was like, we got to ditch. There was this whole intro with like a guitar riff, and it was like heavier and stuff. And then I got to that verse. I was like, this song could be gigantic. I was like, and unfortunately, because it feels like it could be that song, that means you got to cut out all the fun. And you got to. We should just. I was like, we should just get right into the verse as cool as this riff is, we should just go right into the verse and then bring down the chorus. And Matt was like, I literally just told Lance that the exact same thing the other day. And I'm like, that's got to be the answer then. So that song was just such a great journey, and Lance did such a great job writing it and allowing it to evolve. That's a really hard thing to do. Usually when you write something, especially me, I get so attached to like this was my intention for this song, and this is where I tried 100 different things. This is what I landed on. But Lance was like, go for it, so he allowed it to evolve, and so kudos to him for that because it is one of the best songs on the record.
Yeah, I love how direct the record is. I mean, even if you're listening to a song and not paying attention to the track listing, you still know what the chorus is. You're still singing it by the end. And I like what you said, kind of a direct approach. And I don't know if it just kind of worked out this way, but interestingly enough, every track is 3 minutes on the record. There's no 4 minute,
Interesting.
there's no 2 minute. It just everything's three, three and a half, 3:54 for villain, but that's about as long as it gets.
Yeah. Uh, we had a little bit of like purpose in that. We were kind of purposeful with that, where I think Villain had an even longer outro, and we're like, let's just shave off some of that. Like, let's just get it under the 4 minute mark, just for the sake of, replayability.
Love it, man. Love. I mean, it rolls through the album. There's no skipping it. It's a great album, and I'm really excited to hear all these songs live, man. It's going to be your first show back. We got you in Riverside, California, Riverside Municipal Auditorium on April 25th. First show back in the U.S. after doing a long European run. I'm sure you're going to be running for the burritos and tacos when you get back to California.
Dude, that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm actually having street tacos tonight at my house with my wife and my dad. So I'm obsessed with tacos and burritos, especially like if I go anywhere and I see birria tacos, it's like, well, that's what I'm ordering. So it's like I want to look at other things, but it's just not going to happen. I know I'm going to pick those birria tacos.
Yeah, I know when you guys came in for the Warp Tour, you said you did a late night Mexican run for Warp.
That place was the greatest burrito I've had in my entire fucking life. I'm not even kidding you. Every time now we go, I'm like, so can we stop at Tacos Tamix again? Like it's only 4 or 5 miles. Like, let's just go there again. I need my fix, man.
Maybe you have a chance to drive. It's probably going to be like an hour and a half drive from Riverside to Long Beach, but it might be worth it for you. Although there's great tacos in Riverside too, man.
Yeah, so what's your recommendation for a taco spot?
Dude, there's a place basically across the street from the venue called Retro Taco.
Cool. So it's a good
Yeah.
name.
Yeah.
Good
And
name.
it's got like a lot of 80s theme to it, great craft beer as well,
Nice.
but easy to walk in, get some food there.
All right, I'll check it out.
Right across the street. Kind of an interesting bill, you guys in Black Veil Brides, but I guess with this album being a little heavier, a little bit more guitar driven, I guess it makes a little bit more sense. And certainly you got to appreciate the career that they've built and Andy's built with
Yeah.
that band over the decades.
Yeah, it's funny. I think our bands aren't necessarily in the same lane, but like adjacent lanes. You know what I mean? Where they came up in the Warp Tour era and kind of the scene era, and like this band kind of came up a little bit more in like the radio world. And I think the two bands have kind of slowly crossed into similar paths. And so I think we have a lot of fans that haven't heard them, and I think they have a lot of fans that haven't heard us, and I think that our two fan bases are going to have an awesome time at a show together with both bands on the same bill. So I think it's going to be an awesome tour. um, I'm excited. I think it's going to be great.
Are you going to maybe tailor the set list a little bit towards those riff heavier songs with it going out with Black Veil Brides?
We're getting to a point where we're struggling to pick songs because there's especially with this record, we want to play a bunch of new songs. We're probably only going to have 40 45 minutes, so it's like, well, we want to play all of our hits and all of our heavy hitters from the previous records. So it's like, if we're going to try to do that and we're going to try to play a bunch of new songs, we're like, man, we don't have much wiggle room to change anything. So and don't even get me started on the Shine On tour. That's a 30-minute set. We're having to cut hits where we're like, dude, how are we even gonna pick this? This is like we're gonna have to go up there and just like, all right, play it. Like that was that song. All right, next song. Here we go. Let's go.
No
It's
stage wrap,
it's gonna
just
be
fade
nuts.
right into the next one.
Yeah. So we'll probably we probably won't have the amount of time that we would like to in order to make any kind of like adjustments, just because we know the songs that we kind of would like to play and that fans want to hear and that we enjoy playing. And then there's going to be a bunch of new stuff, and that's probably going to take up the whole set list.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious too, man. Speaking of Black Veil Brides and Andy, do you have any acting ambitions? Do you have any acting desire? Do you want to do some acting yourself like Andy?
That would be really cool. When I was younger, I really always wanted to get into acting, and I just never knew how to or had the opportunity to. Music was a lot easier. You just go buy a guitar, you go
Right.
buy a drum set. It's like how do you get in act? You just have to pretend
Right.
and act and maybe meet some people who know some people who can kind of get, theater and stuff like that. And I never really got into that. I was oddly enough too stage shy to get into any of that kind of
Oh.
stuff. So uh I've always wanted to kind of do some acting, just never really had the opportunity, so I'd probably be pretty shitty at it, but I would love to do it regardless.
I think you'd be great at it, man. And certainly, acting in videos a little bit here and there and,
Sure.
you know, kind of
Yeah.
take you down that route. Dude, Danny, appreciate all the time. Last thing I got to hit you with, man. We're an old school radio station. We do a feature called Mandatory Metallica at 10 p.m. And crazy, and I'm sure you agree, they are the perfect band, the perfect hard rock heavy metal band to
Yeah.
break in the sphere like they're going to be doing later this year.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're going to be at the Sphere. That's right. That is wild. Yeah, that's going to be a great show.
Can't even begin to imagine. I got to see Wizard of Oz in there, and just all they did with the tornado and the apples dropping. Like I can't even begin to imagine all the visuals and
Oh my gosh.
videos that are going to come to live, and ride the lightning and lightning bolts, and
Yeah.
it's going to be
Have
insane.
you been to the Sphere before?
Yeah, I saw Wizard of Oz there a
Okay,
couple
yeah.
weeks ago.
Wow. Wild.
Yeah. So I mean, what Metallica is going to do in there is going to be insane. Is that something that you could envision your band doing this Sphere one day?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if we have the opportunity to, absolutely.
I think it'd be
Absolutely.
amazing,
Without
man.
hesitation. Yeah, that would be incredible.
I can't wait to see what they do in there. And I'm kind of curious too, man. What was your kind of introduction to Metallica? When did they come on your radar?
So what's funny? This is going to require a little backstory. I kind of missed that. I have a lot of respect and appreciation for Metallica, Pantera, Iron Maiden, bands like that, but I kind of missed that section of rock because my parents are much older than other people's parents my age.
Ah,
My mom was 37 when she had me. I think my dad was 39. So I got all of like the super old, like classic, like 50s, 60s, 70s, early 80s maybe. And my mom had a few kids before my brother and I, who are 15 years older than me. And so
ah.
I got I got there like late 90s, early 2000s hip hop and pop and stuff like that. And there's this weird section where it's just cut out where I missed like all the 80s and 90s, like the hair metal stuff. I missed all like the original metal stuff, like because my parents weren't into it.
Right.
So it wasn't until like I was 16 maybe. I mean, I had heard of Metallica. I knew of Metallica. Who hadn't? You know what I mean? So, but I just never listened to them. Um, so there's definitely a weird carve out in
Huh.
my life where I didn't get the experience of like growing up on it. It was all like the old stuff, Led Zeppelin, every freaking classic rock band that was ever on the radio. Like I know freaking all those songs. Um, but yeah, Metallica didn't come onto my radar until I was like late in my teens. And I'd kind of already picked up like onto Avenged Sevenfold at that point, which I know like clearly is like
Influence.
without Metallica, there's no Avenged Sevenfold. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I have such a appreciation and respect for that band, and getting to see them live. I think we were at Sonic Temple last year, which is so cool. It was so awesome. So that was my kind of introduction was to them was like not until like my late teens. But
Ah.
they're such a great band, and to be able to do what they're doing well for as long as they've done it is incredible.
Yeah, and what they're doing too, they did it on their last tour, and they're going to do it in the Sphere as well. No repeat weekend. They're playing Thursday one set, go back Saturday, completely different set.
Wow. That's cool. That is really cool.
Yeah, to be 4 decades plus and to practice and rehearse all that material to have two completely different sets. Amazing.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
to
that could be a great show.
just to put a button on it, do you have a favorite Metallica song we can play for you?
Ooh. Oh God. Oh, why am I blanking right now? It's
Sing it.
oh my gosh, I can't. It's the song that goes dun 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 dun. Bullet for My Valentine did a cover of it. I can't. Why is it? Oh my gosh, it's blanking on me. Sanitarium.
Welcome home,
God,
Sanitary.
God, that could not have been any harder for me. Good Lord. I was like, I know what this song is. Why can't I name it? Yeah, Sanitarium. That is a great song. Love that song.
We'll rock that one for you. And just out of my own curiosity, because I'm an Avenged fan too.
Yeah.
When you say you're an Avenged fan, where did you come in at? Were you like, what's your era from them? City of Evil?
I Yeah, so my friends were assholes. And they made me the first song that they had me listen to because I was joining their band because I just wanted to be in a band. And they're like, "All right, listen to this song." And it was A Little Piece of Heaven, which is like
Uh,
I was not into like heavy stuff like that. So them showing that to me was just like throwing me to the lions, you know what I mean? Like so I was like, what the hell is this? So it took me a few songs to find one that I liked. Critical Acclaim was the first one that I was like, this is bad ass. Holy hell. So I came in, it must have been right after they released that record, maybe by like a year. So then I dove down like City of Evil and obviously the self-titled record. And then within a year of finding them, the Rev passed away. So I never even got to see them with the Rev. And then Nightmare came out. So like City of Evil, self-titled album, Nightmare, Hail to the King, all just incredible records.
you ever go back to the early records before City of Evil? That's the stuff I
I
really
was
like.
not that big of a Waking the Fallen fan. There was
Oh,
a song or two I did like Radiant Eclipse, and obviously Unholy Confessions.
yeah.
But I wasn't that big into them. I thought that what was revolutionary about them was what they did on City of Evil. Because when I first heard that, I was like, this isn't real. People can't play music like this. This isn't possible. There's no way that somebody is playing, drums like this and playing guitar like this. Like, it's just not real. And needless to say, I had my mind blown all the way open. So it was City of Evil was the one for me that I think started the rest of it.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much for the time. Safe travels in
Of course.
Europe, and we'll see you in Riverside in a few
All
months.
right, man. See you there. Take care. Thanks for having me.
Bye bye.